Bueno, pues el nombre que le había puesto yo a esta charla.
Right, the name that I've given to this presentation is Internet of Planes. When I sent in the draft version to the people in my company who know how to sell themselves better than myself, they said, no, you should change the title and you should give it the following name, Hacking Millionaire Jet Cabins. And I said, well, it's always good to have good friends. So this is the index of my presentation. First of all, who am I? Introduction, the applications. Let us see what is the purpose of this presentation. Then we move on to analysis. And some acquaintances are here in this room following this presentation. They will help me at the end of the presentation, most likely. Then we are the plane. I will tell you more about that, vulnerabilities that we found, some fixes, and then research timeline. So, first of all, congratulations and happy anniversary for the 10 years, for the great work that you do in terms of dissemination, the close treatment, having trusted me to give me the opportunity to share what I do with you. And then we've seen significant change in this decade, in these 10 years of time. So we also have Chencho, Arantxa, Watsi, Alberto, Omar, all of them who work for free, as well as minions, volunteers, as well as Roman. Well, according to this photograph, well, probably you were expecting a dog to give this presentation. Well, my name is Daniel Martínez. My alias is Danito. I'm a senior security consultant. In terms of experience, I say longer than a hobbit, because I've gone through the experience of many people. I've seen lots of child labor, because some people say that they have 18 years of experience, 20 years of experience, and then I said to myself, okay, experience, how long? More years or longer than a hobbit. And then I was about to show this photograph. And then perhaps if I go and show that, you would be expecting, I don't know, some food to come over here. And then spam, a bit of a spam. Oh, I have to say that I work in IoP company. It's an American company, has an office in Madrid. And I'm very lucky to work with highly interesting people, those people that make you feel a bit stupid when you work with them. And I've always liked that, being surrounded by smarter people. We break things, we like big things, satellites, aircraft, planes, ships. So what I will be sharing with you is a bit related to what Josep mentioned. This is basically a system, a runtime, where I found some vulnerabilities. It is installed in many devices of smart cities, in aircrafts, and in others. And then it is also related to Ruben's presentation about antennas, aircraft, etc. So nowadays, well, not that much nowadays, but in the past, the Internet of the Things is what has become blockchain nowadays. If you didn't have blockchain, you were no one. So therefore, all the companies started to push the introduction of Internet of Things, to sell a lot over a short period of time. And where did it all end up? Well, every day we ended up having lots of problems with bitcoins, and we were being spied all the time. So the interesting thing about this is when the Internet of the Things was implemented following the same philosophy in, well, other fields, such as aviation. Nowadays, we can find mobile apps that will help us interact with some features in the plane, such as multimedia, etc. This is the most important slide. And it is important to know that aircraft systems, landing systems, following a different, operates on a different network, and a network where the systems that we will be discussing are connected to. We can gather information about the altitude of the plane that we may introduce into our device and say, well, the aircraft is flying at 5,000 feet and we are flying over Poland. So during my presentation, well, with the situations that we have found, this could create situations of discomfort on board an aircraft, playing with temperature or light intensity and other type of attacks. But in any case, well, this is not a direct threat to safety. We will not be moving any aircraft at all. So these are the applications to be analyzed. I don't know whether you are aware of these companies. Well, I didn't know any of them. Well, Bombardier ring a bell to me in terms of trains, whereas this one is Bombardier Cabin Control developed, and then the other one is Venue Cabin Remote, developed by Rockwell Collins. So we also took a look at other applications, but we cannot really show it to you because of a non-disclosure agreement. So these are some screenshots that we can see in Google Play. We see here different roles, different things that you can touch on, cabin entertainment, location of the flight, the toilets. That was very interesting when I found it. This is a video where Rockwell Collins company showed us what they do.
Control. From the moment you settle into your aircraft, you and your aircrew will have many ways to conduct your cabin experience with Venue. Your aircrew can...
We can see tablets and tablets embedded on walls.
Galley touchscreen display. Choose settings for movie selection, airshow moving maps, and the entire cabin environment, including lighting, temperature, and background music. In flight, you'll find control points all around the cabin. Make entertainment and environmental selections from your in-seat personal display. You can also use the in-seat touchscreen switch panel. And with our cabin remote app, your mobile device becomes an additional cabin.
So your mobile device becomes an additional controller.
Because Venue seamlessly integrates with your wireless devices, you'll have more control, variety, and convenience than ever. Explore airshow moving maps anywhere in the cabin with the airshow mobile app on your personal device. Use your wireless headset for hands-free selections and communications. Now, no matter where you are in your cabin, personalized cabin control goes right along with you.
I don't own any of these jets. Oh, it's a pity. I would have very surely crashed it. So what happens? That these applications cannot be researched, cannot be analyzed, and this is not specific, or this is not exclusive of aircrafts only. It also happens in other fields. So this is an app that will help you interact with cabin things, but if you don't own that jet, you cannot really go ahead with it. So the application is connected to the Wi-Fi network on the aircraft, and then it interacts with the capabilities in the aircraft. So this app is also available at iOS. It is not within the scope of our research, and it has been developed by Rockwell Collins, which is the developer. Many companies work with Rockwell Collins. So when you search for a device over the map of an aircraft, so we can see that all companies are working with each other, even if they do not kind of share the name in the first place. And as I said, it helps you interact with all the cabin capabilities, and it is based on a wireless access point. So we gather data and we can interact with them. And now I'd like to tell you about the infrastructure of the systems. What we are interested in is the mobile device, that is us, and we will move on the right side of the slide. These are the elements we will interact at, and then the elements in the centers will help us reach the elements on the left. This is another map which I liked. Well, because I was suggested to show a map of the aircraft. Then I could see that device and I said, what is that device there? It is a six-legged device. And I said, oh, Contron. It's one of the companies that use WinOS, and it is one of the systems that my colleague Giuseppe crashed. So I'm not going to say that those things are broken everywhere, but there are many devices here that were not fully robust at some stage of the cycle development. So this is the layout of the devices on the aircraft, but this is not that relevant to us, but this is for you to have a background. And now let us move on to applications. Well, the apps have different user roles. Different roles depending on whether you are crew, whether you are a passenger. Your role would allow you to access some features and not others. You would never be able to drive, to move the aircraft. To access the crew section, you have to enter a password. We've seen that. Well, you will say it when you open the manifest, you see an activity that asks you to enter a password, then you take a look at the code. We can see that the password plays a role, but we will not be going into that in this presentation. But it's interesting for you to know. Forward cabin is the location of the person on the aircraft. So there is a person in the front of the cabin, the other one at the rear of the cabin. So the purpose of this presentation is the following. We said that we wanted to come here to see what to do when you are facing this type of application so that you can mimic a real connection environment and to find out the entry points to attack a situation or to launch an attack. Well, the objective is you want to try to be an aircraft and to do that from a Mac. Once you have the working environment, we will start to find vulnerabilities, and then we will tell you about the steps that we follow to find the vulnerabilities, and in some cases, we will exploit some of those vulnerabilities. These are the target versions of our research. So both are numbered with the same number, and this is not right, because the version on top is 222 and one below is 221. And thanks to that, now I have a new demo. I will also explain you the demo mode. Basically, imagine that you are a new rich or you are a salesperson of this company and you want to sell this product to a company because you're not going to take the aircraft with you, and well, they take this mobile app with a demo mode. The demo mode is then open, and then demo mode, and then you get to see the aircraft. So this is a demo version of the operation of the app, features in it. This will be interesting later on in my presentation. During the talk, we will combine two types of analysis. The one hand, code analysis, which is essential, but we will also be basing ourselves in logs, in network traffic, and all that. Oftentimes, you have it in the code when you see it, when you find it. Having an app that helps you makes you save time. I'm not going to say CFT, but these applications are very interesting to learn, to improve, to see new things. What do we do first? We get a APK, which is not a ciphered zip. APK tool, D, we open the file, and we analyze the two XMLs. I don't want you to read through it, but you may notice that they are very similar. The only thing that changes is the name of the package. In both cases, it's com, robot calling, venue, having remote, dot, bombardier, and the other one doesn't say dot, bombardier. So therefore, we are talking about the same app. What are the things that are to be channeled here? Entry points, activities that are exported, activities that are not exported, the activities and all these elements that we are all aware of. When we read through all that, we get an understanding as to what the app can do. The only activities that were exported were these ones on the screen. And now we will be focusing on permissions. You will later on understand what I'm writing this, what I'm showing this. We may write on the card, we can change the Wi-Fi, we can access the network state. More information about what permission allows you to do, you can find it on the Android app. You can use very many tools. Well, I like JADX quite a lot with those two flags. If some obfuscation is detected, maybe the obfuscated showed by code. Oftentimes when we compile an app, some code is not well decompiled, mistakes are found, whereas in this case, instead of telling you we cannot do that, sometimes it tells you the code right at the bottom, and then sometimes you go back to an older version. So we can do several things to continue discovering things. Another one, for you to get a gravel file is very good. You open it with Android Studio, you export it, and everything in the end is displayed in a beautiful manner. So the first thing that we do is start the app. We got the ABB. I cut off lots of info so that it is not too boring. So basically, in green, these are the things that we found. I say, look, I'm starting now. Start init, session init, then a warning. Instead in timeout, and then I say finish step 1. Okay, step 1 completed. It is very easy to see. So more information than needed is being logged in. This is a good starting point to look for specific changes in the code and to look for this element. When it says done step 1, could be interesting to start organizing the code there. As I'm saying, if you look for step, then you end up in a Java class which is known as step 1. So therefore it makes sense for me to start off in step 1. What do we find in step 1? This is an example of code. You call it from the run function, and basically What it does is the following. The code is detecting whether the SSDLD you are connected to. Well, first of all, if you are connected to an SSID, and then if that SSID has DDWRT if you have a string, it gives you an ID of multicast. If you look for that IP, you will see, well, let me tell you that it has a different value to the value that it would have otherwise. So for this type of things, please do not show this in a production app. It shouldn't be there. So now the state machine, step 1, then we will move on to step 2 to step 3. When you take a closer look at it, you can see that the app wants to go from one step to another, to move from one step to another. And what we can see is that this is a state machine. State 1 may finish one way or another. Depending on how it finishes, it may go to demo mode, etc. Then there are a couple of classes, comma event, and the state initializing that implements what I've just told you. Then I will tell you about step number 2. When it performs, it finishes, it is ended, and then it moves on to the next step. When step 1 is ended, takes a look at a number of things, and then it asks you to move on to step 2. Goes to step 2, when the step is ended, goes to here. So you do that from a state initializing of Java. Now let us move on to multicast. Okay, to see this line, we see what multicast does. Multicast is a protocol running under UDP, and then based on the protocol, there are a number of IPs that you can use to send information, and that information reaches the devices that are connected to multicast. Therefore, I may be emitting in my network, but if you are not listening in that multicast group, if you haven't joined the multicast group, you will see what's in there. But if you haven't joined, you cannot really see it. So we will open a socket in port 53,000, and now we can already see some of the next step, JSON, which is the Android library to work with JSON. We start our search, we continue to search. Con announcement tells us, or kind of makes us anticipate the format of JSON. But we really want to see what's in those values. Appver, confpath, confver. It is not very obfuscated. Could be worse. And then we read port 3.1 and 3.2. I cut it off the rest of it because it doesn't add any value. So at the end of the day, give us a con announcement with the following information. We take a closer look at it, of this con announcement. In step 2, we see a download configuration file, which is getting a connection, and it is what the other method returns to us. So the next method, which is called, the next class, is file downloader, and the definition is quite clear, or at least it is quite clear to me. We have FTP download, data connection, address, 3.1, 3.2, a path, as well as a name file, which has been defined in the package, as well as storage. What we can see here is that when we open FTP file download, it receives the host, the username, the password, a directory, file name, as well as a local directory of the device. There is a Java class known as initTask that will provide quite a lot of information about the checkup version and the possible values in it. I'm not going to go and analyze each and every one of data. Well, I know I'm doing good with time, but still I will go a bit fast. Jason. So the values that we're interested in here are 10002, which is an IP, IP that we will find in the code of the app, port 21, and user password. We are not going to complicate our lives. If we are going to send to receive an FTP through multicast, why should I enter a secure password? So we will be using the tool host IPD. I'm sure that you know it from Unix, to analyze the traffic between the server and the device with Wireshark or with whatever you would like to use. And then we will use Python to create a simple script to send the configuration over multicast. This is the output that we get from sender.py, and this is the one that I created to send in information through multicast. You can see the path, configuration, address, port. This is the host APD. Actually, there are millions and millions of scripts in GitHub. I tried not to look like a hero here in creating a access points. You start one, and then you add HTTP, and then you start to play around with it. And I have already routed one interface with another. So we start the app, we execute our sender, and we can see that it tries to connect to our FTP server. This is no surprise. And now let us try to configure an environment and to start an FTP server. But before that, let us take a look at the log. What do we see in the log cat? The same thing. I'm trying to connect to this class, refused connection, an error. So the app is telling us to follow these steps. So it was kind of interesting doing that. It was good fun, actually. And I said, well, FTP server. Oh, what a pain. I took a look at it, and then I used the server in the Metasploit assistant, and I said, well, then I could see that it didn't work well with folders. So if you insert a file whose name is hola.txt, it does not accept it. And then I could realize that if I create it in the root folder and in the test folder, I could take a look at it. And then, having reached this point of craziness, I installed an FTP in the server, and that was it. We started the FTP server, and what did we see in the WebShark? It is asking us for a remote configuration XML. We don't have that. And you can also see that in the code, but we are already seeing it here. So let us take a closer look at it. If you do query XML, if you have to read how an app passes an XML, well, it could be really, really boring, but you know that there are very difficult things to generate. However, demo mode, I looked for that string, for that file, and I found a folder that had the remote configuration XML. At the end of the day, that included information about the characteristics of the aircraft, such as lighting, seats, sensors, media, etc. So in a folder, I found this file, which basically I copied and pasted. And as well, let us give it a go. So the app is not being very reluctant. So I copied the file was downloaded, and I say, oh, hold on, another file, a zip file. Then I took a look in, and I could see a folder known as assets, and where we find the remote configuration XML, and then we also find another 2 folders, MDPI and XHDPI. Because the file is icon Android XH, if one says SHDPI, you don't have to really make a mistake on purpose. I just created a file with the information inside, I put it into the folder, and then it was downloaded. Then I took a look at the logcat, and we could see that we were going through all the steps. It was connected to our app. And then when I went back to the slides, and I said, well, this is not that was not such a big job. And now, if we follow all those steps, we are already in the plane, because it gets all the configuration. This is the same as the demo mode. And because the application offers it, it parses it equally. But we offer that from a different environment. So we are going to do a mini demo.
Es increíble que haya gente así, la verdad es que yo la admiro. Dejadme un segundo porque quiero intentar cómo se lo pasa. Vale.
Well, he's having such a great time. Well, the thing is that to comment on the video, I have to move over there. So, the higher the number of black screens, the more hackers. So, top left, I will lift an AP. I will start an AP. Then on the right, I produced a script searching in PS whether the process exists. If the process exists, I use logcat to find information about the process. You know that every button that you press, you get 7 lines as a result, and we just don't want that. Bottom left, we get to see the Python file. Oh, hold on, this is the mobile app. The mobile app that I'm using is the last one, the one that offers the report of everything. Well, anyway, they decided not to correct it, not to change it. This is the last version of the app, and it works. Bottom right, I'll show you so that you can see how the traffic is being sent, and then I will change it to FTP. So this is the latest version in the market. Beautiful thing is. Then the AP. I'm starting to send in multicast traffic. As you can see, I am sending it from 3 IPs to the multicast IP. We are already connected to the Wi-Fi. TCP dump over port 21 to see what we can see in there. We are already looking at our mobile app whether the process has started. This is the app, this is the process, FTP traffic. So the app is the serial app. So we'll download the zip, we'll process it, it takes some time. Come on. Now I've run it again.
Hay cosas que son en la vida muy complicadas.
Well, some things in life are very complicated. But working with mobile apps, you have to uninstall them all the time, clearing the cache of Wi-Fi and doing other things is extremely complicated. So what I did, right, reopen it, then the configuration was well uploaded, and then the demo mode has not been loaded. I want to show you something in the traffic. Okay, so I don't have a pointer with me. You may notice there is a JSON here, MSG data, depth, and lots of information. You can see that in port 21, but it is not FTP traffic, obviously. And actually, FTP server says user and password. This is for you that we can continue emulating or mimicking these environments in the latest market application. And this aircraft flies, so very good. From here, we will take a look at a number of vulnerabilities that we found during our analysis. As we were loading the configuration, and XML and a zip were downloaded, the function, unfortunately, was not well done. We will take a look at the code in a few minutes, but basically what happens here is that you can enter a cross-sectional route when you create the zip file, and then in Java and other languages, by default, they do not sanitize the path of the entries. If you were to do it in Linux, that will be omitted, and it will be written in the file that you are working with.
So, obviously, in order to exploit that vulnerability, we have to do it properly. We have to simulate the environment. So, for this reason, we can find transversal routes in the zip. We can write, if we have permission, we could get, in the SD card, we could get an ERC depending. It's not the purpose of this presentation to get an ERC, but it would be nice. But it would be nice to buy it over and sell him half the plane. This is not the right place to show you an ERC with an Android version of the prehistory. Anybody can do that. But it could follow two paths. One is exploiting a good avenue like the States. Fry. You load a media file with a path where a user is prone to read it, and that was it. And then if the application is multi-class because it has a number of functions, it would allow to see two .dex files. So with the previous versions of Android, you would be able to rewrite classes in that folder, and there you have your set. So, as I was saying, the first, I'm using the Edilar tool that uses someone that applied in Black Hat 15, I think. And what the guy did was he achieved remote execution of Samsung through a mistake in the keyboard, which also uploaded a zip. So, I did this with a PK, but we can use it as a PXT. Basically, we say the name of the file, we load it, it could be, we load the destination file, and we prepare the end. So the vulnerable function I'm going to show you about is in these classes in these two places. So why is it in these two places? I don't know. Maybe they're paid by kilowatt. This is the function. The interesting part is the part that is in green. Basically, try to create a file f variable, and they use an absolute path adding, and that is a bar, which is the separator of the op_sys, and the get name, which is the name of the file. You make some verifications, and then it writes the file. According to that, we should be able to do something. We'll do another demo now. One more cell. One more cell. Basically, you find the same thing, but I'm showing it so you can see. Here we have a code in Python that I use to send it through multicast. We have the AP. This is the Android version for the app, the version we were working with, to make the reset. Here we got the permissions. I was talking to a friend in the script down there, so I asked him to write a script of monetization to see if there are changes, and you can execute while one slip and list the content of the folder according to what you need. It could be more difficult or less. You can use maybe another name and not show the code. So basically, we have the list content of the SD, and we will do the same thing we did before, but we will offer the zip that I talked to you about. We wait for connection. As you can see, here is the UDP traffic, FTP traffic. We will monitor to find the file, and there we have the folder. Okay, right now there's only 3 folders, and it has created a 4th one. Basically, all the logs shown through ADB. Okay, well, I'll also keep them here. The logs are also in the ASD. So, in this version, here we have it. I think I have another file here. I'm trying to download everything. The app will fail, but we have another file in USB. So we stop.
Y ahí está, el fichero, ¿vale? Entonces que se vea, a ver, es que no estoy viendo de lejos. Ah, vale, para que se vea la fecha.
So we can see the date and all that. So this is what we showed the manufacturer, and we said, you haven't got server validation, and we were able to do this. Last night I saw the video I showed you about the spam of the application, and you can see we have tablets on the wall. I don't know if they use Android or iPads or other op_sys. I can't really find out or say things that I don't know for sure, but those are the tablets there. Let's see where we're at. As I was saying, on the basis of on the design of the application, we can broadcast a valid configuration of a server, so this was this would download the file. So these are the things we could do. We could get a fake server. As it has a password, we find a method, we verify it in XML to find the site with a password. We could hijack this and to get the password. Therefore, we could access characteristics that a passenger doesn't have. But this is better than before, and better than nothing. Other things we could do, if we had access, if the Wi-Fi was open, or we had a password, or we could broadcast through a network, we could do a Maluma attack, control of music. You can have the guy listening to Maluma the entire flight. Well, in fact, you couldn't, but you just think about it. That just broadcast music and he can't change. And then you can do this with the subliminal recording to get people to vote the party you want when they get off the plane. So I don't have a lot of imagination, as you can see. As I was saying, what can the crew do? They could change. We can change the temperature. I understand that all this has manual controls, but it's not bad to play with it. Maybe I don't have access to the device. I don't know at what temperature I can put the plane. I don't know if this is controlled by the app or by a server they have, and I can change it or not. But these are things that I can access. Obviously, another vulnerability is that communications are not safe or secure. The application implements a layer to encrypt communications, so the attacker can make a man in the middle or start sensitive, some secret. If the application is based on a network without Wi-Fi, it could become the man in the middle. Then I was seeing that according to the connected device, the form in which you download the configuration changes. Encrusted tablets, or the mode we were discussing earlier, if it has the word SDK, or the word devil, I can download it through HTTP instead of FTP. So you just look for the connection, HTTP 80 path, as you can see here. So, fixes, as we were saying, implement TLS authentication client server, do something to make it not easy as issuing through multicast a password and user. When I found a bag, I said, hey, I'm silly. I wouldn't know how to develop half of the application, so there's sufficient knowledge to fix this. The sanitization of the SID, it would be good to review the application in iOS. Other minor issues. Well, this information, it's in the logcat, it's in the code, you put the password and you get it through logcat and you can save it in the folder. The folder is the one we said earlier, the one we saw in the video. So, obviously, for us, when you're using a complex application, everybody uses prim Fs, but in this case it's not necessary.
mismo pues lo almacenamos en la SD, pues tampoco me lo ves password ahí. Está un poco feo. Vale, luego otras dos minor uses que he encontrado, porque antes he dicho doseas, y me he quedado ahí un poco... Dosear no es hackear, ¿vale?
Dosing is not
Si es
hacking.
una cosa y te has cargado el internet del mundo, sí es hackear, pero si no, no es hackear, es solo conectar un poquito. Entonces, bueno, encontramos
So we find a number of EOS attacks. It takes up the famous XML LOL attack that starts to book memory to parse, and the application is overloaded. And for zip, it's the same. You can make a zip with 100 gigabytes, and that's the end of the app. The research timeline is important to include. So in February 2018, we discovered the IO active vulnerability. So then we sent an advisory to a client in March 2019. So we found this, we can do all of this. So we will coordinate with Bombardier to see it, and this is when we were publishing it. I don't say that that they haven't fixed it. We could continue playing to do a plane. I don't ask you to remember everything because I couldn't either. This is the permissions given by the application. So what problems do we have? That gentleman is creating files in the SD. This is the way I would fix it. I would fix this for a while, but anyway, this is what I would do. So the last version of the 222 remote is here. So if we try to do it, we get the error. Oh my God, something has happened. We have two apps. I put the videos on YouTube because I didn't know if I was going to be left without internet or whatever. So I have the backup of the backup of the backup. This only accepts the Bombardier application, okay? How are you doing time-wise? Shall I show the video now? Okay, I'll do the demo. If it fails, so give me a sec. Give me a minute. And this is the last slide, actually.
Vale, esto por aquí. Esto por aquí. Esto aquí. Y aquí vamos a poner multicast. Vale. Password. No. Vale. Vale, pues yo creo que ahora aquí podemos poner el TCP dump. Dame un segundito que lo estoy preparando todo para que se vea como el vídeo.
Give me a second because I want to get everything ready to show the video. So we will connect.
Esto lo conectas al Linux. Mi cable. Vale. A ver, ya estoy, ¿eh? No te enfades.
Nearly ready. Please be patient.
Vale. Vale, ahora estoy intentando que se vea en la pantalla.
I'm trying to show the mobile on the screen.
¿Habéis visto por aquí un icono o algo
Have
así?
you seen any icon around here
Vale, vamos
on the screen? So give me a sec.
Vamos a ver. Mac. Venga. Vale, creo que ahora sí. Vale, sí, ahora sí. Vale, chachi. Y ahora, ¿dónde está la shell? Ah,
Okay, so where's the shell now?
y ahora voy a intentar enviar toda esta movida a la pantalla.
Now I can send all this to the screen. There we go.
Uf, lo que no sé es cómo voy a hacerlo en ciego. Bueno, vamos a ver.
What I don't know is how can I do it blindly.
La aplicación,
Here we have the app,
y ahora tengo que levantar una
and now I have to raise a small issue here.
con... Vale, bueno, como os he dicho, este es el script
Okay, this is the script
que nos va a listar la información que hay en la
that
tarjeta.
will list the information on the card.
Esto nos va a levantar una P. Vamos a arrancar el wifi.
We will start the Wi-Fi.
Vale, ya estamos conectados.
So we're connected. No more flight mode.
Todavía. La aplicación de Bombardier.
The Bombardier application.
Ni caché ni nada. La aplicación
We don't
instalada,
have
está
cache
instalada,
or
¿lo
anything.
veis todos?
And this is the 221 version.
Pues ahora vamos a quitar esto. Ahora aquí,
So here
¿verdad?
we have a UDP, right?
No se ve nada, evidentemente.
There's nothing we can see here.
Si aquí hago cat,
So if I do a cat here,
sender p, pues en el código, pero ya lo he
we
dicho.
get the code.
Python. Estúpida. Madre mía, espérate. A la iglesia ataca. Python. Sender, ¿vale? Vamos a ver ahí tráfico UDP, esperable.
So we'll here, we can see here the
Cerrar esto y vamos a hacer lo mismo.
foreseeable UDP traffic.
TCP.
So we will put here TCP
1.
X21.
Vamos a ver la aplicación, vamos a arrancarla.
So now we will start the app.
Como os he dicho, ahí vemos, listamos el contenido de la carpeta.
We
Ahí
list the
vemos,
content of the
la aplicación
folder.
se está ejecutando,
Here we see
y
that
ahí
the app
vemos,
is not
estoy
executing
jodiendo
and
con el
we
wifi.
somebody's messing
Cada
around
línea
with a
es uno de
Wi-Fi.
vosotros que tengo
Maybe
vuestras-
it's some of you, but watch it
Ahí
because
vemos
I've got
cómo
all your
la
Macs
aplicación arranca.
addresses. So here we see the app starting up.
Vale. No sé qué se ve en la esta de abajo. No sé tampoco si se está importando mal.
I don't know if someone is being naughty here or what is happening in the lower part.
tarjeta, o sea, funcionar que está funcionando. Vamos a ver si...
This is working now.
Lo grabé anoche, o sea, que tampoco pasa nada. Pues nada, no va a haber vídeo. Voy a tener que
Well,
poner-
we won't be able to have the video, I'm sorry. Bombardier last version.
Está ejecutando el vídeo en algún lugar de...
The video is executed in some of the screens of this computer.
Todo esto porque la de
Okay, I will overlook all this, close all this.
es lo que tiene hacer pruebas con wifi
This is what you get when you do tests with Wi-Fi.
y ahí vemos que se crea el fichero de nuevo.
And now the file is created again.
Perfectamente la última versión
It loads the latest
y escribe el
version
fichero.
and it writes the
Y
file.
hacemos una debe ser,
So we do
vamos a la tarjeta, hacemos un cat al fichero
we do a
IoP
cat,
y ahí estamos.
and there we are.
Así que la última versión sigue un poquito rota.
So the last version is still rotating.
Y aplaudir bien a sus unos osos.
You don't applaud, you give me a hand or anything,
Mira.
really. Look,
Os habéis portado un poco bien y al final ha creado el fichero.
so you were good in the end, so it created a file. Here we have it.
Ahí tenemos el fichero, cat,
Here we have the cat file.
Joder, qué exigentes.
Wow, you're really a difficult crowd, eh?
Vale. Voy a parar que alguno se baje y se conecta al wifi. Pero no
Maybe
queda más
someone is going to connect to the Wi-Fi.
Vale, pues... Creo que queda una para
I think I had just one slide to go.
Es que esta no sabía cómo poner, digo, la pongo al final.
Well, I'll put this at the end. This wonderful photograph. And this great video.
Pues nada, esto ha sido todo. Quería daros las gracias a todos por haberme aguantado.
I'd like to thank all of you for
A
putting
la
up
asociación RootedCON
with me,
y, bueno,
the RootedCON, and
empresa por haberme dado el tiempo
my
para
company
hacer
for
research
giving me the
y,
time
bueno,
to
pues,
do the
bien.
research.
Creo
And
que
as soon as I
las
got there, I said,
aplicaciones
didn't you want to do
sí,
things with
las
Android?
aplicaciones de aviones.
Okay, look, we have app
Así que bueno,
for
así que eso es
planes.
todo.
So that's how it all started. Thank you very much.